Welcome everybody to our May meeting of New Mexicans for Science and Reason. Our guest speaker tonight is Keith Gilbert, and he's going to be talking about his delightful new book. But before that, I want to mention we've got a big event coming up, SkeptiCamp, New Mexico. It's done with the help of Susan Gerbic. Several skeptical groups have had skeptic camps. It's like an NMSR meeting on steroids. There will be 9 talks. At least we may have some more. Looks like we're going to have an evening of meeting the speakers and just socializing the Friday before. So that would be May 31st. And then we've got several talks lined up. I'm going to turn on my screen share and going to go to the SkeptiCamp website, which it's on our main website, but it's SkeptiCamp.NM .com. There it is. You can see it right there. SkeptiCamp-NM.com. So we've got here's who's going to be there so far. Larry Barker. He's done several segments of investigative reporting with us, and he's going to talk about some of those. Roswell, Aztec, Bigfoot, Chupacabra. Ben Radford is going to talk about the blue whale game, moral panic or public threat. Adrienne Hill is coming here from out of town to talk about Not a Ghost of a Chance. And all our speakers have biographies. If you click on Adrienne's picture here, you'll go to her bio page and a more detailed description of the talk. And I've got those for everybody. Brian Dunning is a UFO and skeptical podcaster, and he's just put out on YouTube a movie called the UFO Movie They Don't Want You to See. And it looks like he's going to participate in a panel discussion on about UFOs on Saturday. And then he's going to show his movie and take questions on Sunday, June 2nd. So for June 1st and 2nd are the dates. Susan Gerbic of the Guerrilla Skeptics on Wikipedia is going to talk about telling stories with Wikipedia. I'll give you a rundown on the latest flat Earth follies. And it's just an amazing, never-ending source of amazement. Okay. The Zoom controls are getting in the way. Here we go. Okay. Um, Celestia N. Ward she's an artist and a very creative person, and she'll be talking about creativity and critical thinking. What can art teach about skepticism? And she'll be doing some caricatures on Friday night, I believe, is the plan. Frank Etzkorn, a professor emeritus down here at New Mexico Tech, inventor of the nicotine patch, is going to talk about quackery, what fools us mortals be. And then Curly Tlapoyawa is a very experienced pseudo-archaeology analyst and skeptic, and he's going to talk about the fight against pseudo-archaeology. Archaeology is one of his specialties. Okay, so that's the lineup so far, and we may have looks like we've got a panel that'll have some other fun people to talk about how can skeptics do better on social media and online. So it's going to be interesting. And yeah, I'm going to set up to have RSVPs. I guess the first 25 people that reply are going to get some sort of gift bag from Celestia. So that'll be fun. But look for more about this. We probably won't have a regular meeting in June. This is going to be it. But it's a little earlier than usual, June 1st and 2nd. So details at SkeptiCamp-NM.com. So that's our appeal for that. And so moving right along to tonight's speaker, our own longtime member, Keith Gilbert, has written a really interesting book called Counterintuitive Quarters of the Mind. And so I'm stopping sharing. I think he wanted to just show you some stuff from the book first, and then I have the slides. So let me anoint Keith with the speaker oil. And okay, it has been done.
Ah,
So yeah, you can share your screen, or I think if you talk, we'll see you pretty well.
all right. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Sounds good.
Okay. Everybody in the audience can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I hope you can see this book. It was published in late January on Amazon platform, and it's available in ebook, paperback, hard copy. Had a lot of fun writing it, and I'm going to share in a very informal manner my reflections on this book. I propose, though, that let me do most of the talking for maybe 40 minutes, Dave. Is that 35, 40
That
minutes?
sounds great.
And then you will serve virtual donuts.
Yeah.
And then we'll proceed with a bevy of insightful questions.
Excellent.
Copacetic? Okay.
Copacetic.
All right. Okay. So let's start with the first slide.
Okay, I'm going to put the link to your book on Amazon. I'm just going to put that into the chat here, so anybody that wants can grab it. Okay. Um, all righty. And got sound. Okay, that's
That print is
oh
small.
yeah, our webpage with the meeting announcement also has this link. So that's a handy thing. Okay, let me work my way over to LibreOffice. Okay, take it away, Keith.
All right. Thank you, Dave, and welcome friends and fellow scientists and logicians, etc. The art and science of the counterintuitive is my subtitle because we're going to make a case for both intuition and critical thinking. Oh, I heard a beep there. What does that
Yeah,
mean?
that means I have to at least darn it. There
Good.
we go. I have to get out of the thing to let people in. Zoom really kind of steps in there.
All
Okay.
right. Do we need to put
Uh,
another quarter in the machine?
yeah, sounds like it. Okay, so are you ready to advance?
Yes, that's it. And next. I will just say next. That's
Okay, great.
okay. That's it. And oh, that's too big. It's overflowing my field. Can you make?
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
We're on the purpose slide.
Oh, yeah, I know that, but it's you're cutting off the edges of it.
I can see the whole thing.
Well, that's
Can,
one out of two.
is everybody able to see the whole slide there?
It's cut off.
Okay, which part? Right, left, bottom?
Left.
Oh,
Yeah, pretty much all.
Oh, that's no good. Um, how's this?
That's better. Of course, the print is smaller, but
Let me try something. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna share just the briefing itself. Okay. And then let me, dang.
Okay, well, that's at least livable with me.
Uh,
Oh, now you got, it's easier to read, but the bottom is now cut off.
The bottom is cut off. That's not acceptable.
And now everything's cut off.
Okay, I'm gonna, um, can you see the whole slide right now?
Yes, I can see it, and
Let's just go with that because it sounds like when I do the slideshow, which
okay.
expands the slide to the screen, my screen is not like everybody else's screen.
Uh,
So if this is okay, can everybody see this screen?
yes, I can see it.
Okay, well, let's just stick with this then. That's too bad.
Well, I
Okay,
think,
well, we'll muddle through.
yes, this would be very informal, and it's already started that way, so.
Yeah,
We'll start with the preamble of what, why, and who.
there we go. That's just more people coming in.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
they're late for class,
yeah.
but most welcome.
Well, 3 more minutes before we do the professor cutoff.
Oh, okay, so shall we wait 3 minutes or shall I
No,
just?
no, no, that
All
was a
right,
joke.
all right,
We'll let him.
all right, a preamble of what, why, and how I crafted this book. The purpose was to enhance critical thinking because it's woefully underdeveloped in this country and I suspect the world. And it's essential because now, Dave, you're blocking off the lower. Okay, that's fine.
Uh-oh, okay.
We live in a wobbly and foggy world. The deluge of information is exponentially growing and arriving at nearly the speed of light. Most insidiously, it's novel, well camouflaged, and contains half-truths, alternate facts, and hooey. So but move on to the next one.
Okay.
We're off and running. So how do we get to a counterintuitive event? Well, something arrives that is both interesting and uncertain, an issue or an event. Our intuition is our first responder. And I consider it an art form because it is a repository of experiences. It's a historical document. And it is quite limited because we're getting a lot of never before seen novel information, but it still is extremely useful. And it takes a whack at this. It delivers a unsolicited assessment, what's going on, and if that's inadequate to me, then I am dealing with a counterintuitive event. And now I have two options. Option one is to proceed to critical thinking. Option two is to take a guess. And the character on my right, who helped me with this book, a very talented cartoonist named Mark Rutherford. And you can see he lives by his gut. He has no time for critical thinking. And when he's forced to deal with a issue, he frequently just rolls the dice. And at the bottom, we see a pithy little result of that, and that's when your intuition is forced to guess, you're often in a mucky mess. Okay, next. Now the approach, critical thinking, and I should share with you how I arrived at this. Critical thinking is not taught by parents. Parents do not teach their kids. They preach and teach that if it feels good, it looks good, or somebody in authority told you it was good, it's probably good. So their critical thinking skills are quite limited. Now, I'm generalizing, but you'll have to bear with me. It's not taught in schools generally, and I don't know why that is, but It is taught occasionally in universities. And just to pitch to Dave, I think he teaches a course in that at Socorro. And I had an experience at UNM. And I took a critical thinking course about a few years ago from the philosophy department. And the philosophy department has 20 full-time professors, all of course emeritus and all those fancy words. And when I arrived for the class, about 80 or 90 students, mostly juniors and seniors, it was taught by a graduate student. And he proceeded for the semester to read from Plato's Republic and interesting dialogues with Socrates. And of course, it was critical thinking, but hold it. 2,500 years ago. And that was about the course. A graduate student taught it, and I read from a book. And I said, there's got to be a better way because we need to improve critical thinking, and particularly among the youth of this country. And so I combined a text that included prose, poetry, cartoons, and 50 or more problem set, each one of which is counterintuitive to me. Now, we each have a unique and distinctive set of what is counterintuitive, and our intuitions are unique. And again, I'm going to turn to Intuit, our jolly fellow who lives by the gut. He has no time for critical thinking, and he rolls the dice if he's making a push to making a guess. So being a semi-poet, I sketched, if intuition leads you to guess, you can often end up in a mess. Yet critical thinking skills can be powerful pills, smoothing life's path with less stress. Next.
All righty.
We're on a roll, Dave. Okay. Intuition. Remember that intuition is a given. It's pretty. Everybody's got an intuition, and you need awareness and motivation, and you have an intuition, and it can be a very rich, proactive item. It's quick and unsolicited. Again, I mentioned it. I believe it's art-based, like a living gallery of paintings or a library of books. It's past experience with the underlying past, and each of us has a unique set. Critical thinking, on the other hand, I consider science-based. It deals with the present and the future. It is heavily steeped in the scientific method. It involves logic, research, skepticism, and risk assessment. Okay, and let's see, do I want to see anything else about intuition? I think that will do it. We'll go to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, good, Dave. Now, skepticism, I consider the soul of critical thinking. A skeptic is an objective truth seeker. She is aware of self-biases. She is considered herself an agnostic. That used to be a theological term, but it is branched out now, meaning that she's withholding judgment until solid evidence is in hand. And she is definitely not a cynic. And a cynic is a person with bias, built-in bias. We used to call them Doubting Thomas. And those of you that remember Spiro Agnew, who was Nixon's vice president, had an elegant definition of a cynic. He said a cynic is a nattering nabob of negativism. And on the right, I have a sign that provides an exclamation point to that. Stop and think. Okay, next, Dave.
Okay.
Scientific method is the heart of critical thinking. It builds on the past, analyzes the present, and predicts the future. It involves the classic scientific dimensions: logic, rational reasoning, risk, and probability. And the essential linchpins of this, of a scientific method, are you see something, let's study it. It's new to me. You form a hypothesis and make an educated guess. You analyze it. It could include empirical evidence, etc., through a skeptical filter. You offer peer reviews, and then you promulgate it as a temporary theory. It is every theory is temporary, because we have strong theories and we have weak theories. And a good example of a strong theory is the theory of gravity. And pretty much everybody believes in it. And I'm sure most of you have discovered that you don't learn anything new the second time you are taken by gravity. We've all fallen off ladders, etc. A weak theory, which we're going to discuss later, is our universe. Our universe, with the two large telescopes, now looking back to almost the seminal moment of the universe, the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago, is uncovering many things that we'll discuss later. So next, Dave. So today we're going to talk about, we're going to take a trip through my book. And now this is my set of counterintuitive things. You have yours, but I'm sure we're going to share some. I'll give you an example, but just take it. I'm not going to read all this, but we're going to take a journey through the natural universe, and we're going to make stops. And you can see what some of the stops are. I will highlight cold fusion, which is one of my favorite, because I used to work in the Department of Energy, and I'll just I'll give you a snippet at this point. It's a couple of professors that thought they could emulate stellar fusion in the laboratory at room temperatures. We'll get to that in a bit. And then at the end of this, we'll before the conclusions, we'll look at a couple of problems from my 53, which are designed. They were counterintuitive to me initially, and then I applied some critical thinking skills, and I've resolved them all. So again, we're going to start this process, and I think, Dave, we can move on.
Okay.
So, okay, I was recently sitting on my porch, observing the incredible hummingbird, of which I have several features, when suddenly a young man flashed by on an electric unicycle, going about 60 kilometers an hour. No t-shirt, no helmet, shorts, earphones, and I believe he had a cell phone in one hand. And my intuition said, OMG, oh my God, I've never seen this before. And then it followed up with, grab your phone and run out to the curb, and you'll probably be dialing 911. He's going to crash. Well, I did, and he didn't. He was gone when I got out there, and so I sent I sent this to my library of intuitions as something that was to be stored, and I should mention now, your library of intuitions is a dynamic library. It frequently gets new books. It has an archive, and it's used. It is a very valuable tool when it's combined with a good, well-crafted critical thinking. Next. Ooh, that's print small. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Well, this is a tool that I crafted, and the printing's small, but my eyesight is, you'll have to.
I can try to make it bigger here.
Yeah. I think I can probably, well, I'm not gonna read it. I'm sure
Is
my
that better?
yeah, yeah, and I don't see all of it, but it's, I think I see most of it.
Can you zoom it down a little bit,
Uh,
Dave?
Zoom into it.
No, zoom it out.
I tell you,
It was
But keep,
over zoomed in, and so you're cutting off, like, for example, the two hands. You were only getting about
yeah, that's
the
when I was
leftmost
zoomed in.
half.
Yeah. For some
yeah,
reason, maybe if I just widen it here. Okay, now slideshow. How's that?
That's good. Well, you don't have the cat, but down
Uh,
in the
do we want the cat?
left-hand corner.
Is that good, Keith?
I think it's good, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's
I think
better.
I just had to
So,
stretch my little window a little bit.
well, let me just proceed while you're stretching. Uh, uh, This, this is designed to help you um, hone your skills in critical thinking, and it does, the acronym spells GRASP, as you can see, but it's, if something, if your intuition can't handle it, and you still are you interested because it is counterintuitive and you want to, we all abhor uncertainty, and so you grab the challenge, you set the boundary conditions for it. You don't seek perfection, because we all know that that last 10 and 20% not only takes you a lot of time and money, but it can actually end up with an inferior product. And you breathe deeply now. Now that is something I want to emphasize, because breathing deeply has a number of effects. It calms the cardiovascular system. It soothes the SAD syndrome system, which usually accompanies uncertainty. And that would be, SAD stands for stress, anxiety, and depression. And it frequently accompanies deep uncertainty. Research it within the time constraints, and time always provides a constraint, obviously. You winnow down the options. Keep breathing deeply, and at this point, I'm going to ask everybody to take 3 deep breaths, if you would. Are you ready? 1. 2. 3. Okay, now, don't you agree that that is a, you calm your vascular system, you feel a bit more tranquil, and it releases some toxins such as CO2, and it oxygenates the brain. So it's got to be good, and it's wonderful when you're involved in some deep cerebral activity, as you are frequently with critical thinking. So let's see, I got off the track here. So then you analyze and winnow down the options: skeptical, scrub. You remember you're an agnostic, you're not a cynic. You are looking for truth, but you're withholding judgment until you have the proper amount of data in hand. You may apply Occam's razor. That is, if you have several potential solutions, you usually start, not always, but usually start with the one with the fewest assumptions. And you identify rabbit holes and fallacies that we all are susceptible to falling into. And when you propose the best solution, you give it your rationale and the pluses and minuses, advantages and disadvantages. And that critical thinker grasps the issue, and the picture is somebody grasping a wrist. It's supposed to be so. Okay, let's go on. Now the hummingbird is is a mystical magic midget, the most counterintuitive in the avian. Oh, somebody knocked. Most, Dave, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
We're good.
Maybe somebody left. Maybe I better.
That might be. Yeah. Okay. I think I got the all the words on there.
Yeah, congratulations. Now, if I only I could read them. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, let's see. Yeah, the counterintuitive hummingbird is amazing, and I'm not going to read all these, but there's just some of the qualities. But I will point out that they are single migrators. They fly a solo distances up to 1,000 kilometers, and they frequently return the next. They frequently return the next season to the same feeder. Amazing to me. They weigh, the weight of a hummingbird is, oh,
That was somebody coming back in. They got bumped out, and I got them back in.
okay, are we good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, a hummingbird weighs about just a little more than a US quarter. About 6 to 8 grams. 6 to 8 grams, tiny words, but such, they're worth so much more than 2 bits or a quarter. They're called hummers because their wings flap at 60 hertz, and that is the hum you hear, and when they're around your feeder. And there are a total of 365 species in the Americas. Which easy to remember, one for each day of the year, but only 4% of them deign to come north of the border into North America, which is about 15, and the rest reside in Central and South America. Amazing birds. Okay, let's go on, Dave. Now, I've been slightly let's see, I list a few characteristics here because these are the ones that most, as I sit on my porch and watch them. They vie for feeders fiercely until darkle arrives. And then they seem to declare truce and allow everybody to come in for a last feed. They have a flight control system that is mind-boggling. I've watched them in heavy turbulence, rain, rock steady while they're drinking out of my feeders. It seems to defy aerodynamics and the perfect stability in turbulence. I've watched them fly backwards. The only thing that can fly backwards. Now we're not counting helicopters now. These are birds. Okay, so and I've actually seen them fly inverted. They go into hibernation state called torpor, which is everything drops to a few pulses per minute because they have to drink their own weight every day to survive. So they're constantly refilling, and when they sleep, usually in cold or very hot weather, they can be seen hanging upside down with almost no pulse, not breathing hardly. So it's so magnificent. I was driven to write this ode to hummers, which hummers are masters of flight. They zoom back and forth, left and right, and no physicist found how they fly upside down at a scintillating speed of delight. What we have in the center is a Rufus. He is the king of belligerent and combative birds. He doesn't want anybody in his zip code, and he's well, I don't particularly want him to come around. He usually comes around later in the season, but when he does, even if I have several feeders, he wants to keep all the birds away from all the feeders. So go figure. Okay, next. Okay. Yeah, I think we're doing okay, Dave. Everything copacetic?
Doing good. You sound like you went away for a second.
Well, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, good. Okay, cold fusion. This is a classic case of science gone astray. Now we understand quite well stellar fusion, hydrogen, the result of hydrogen fusion. It requires, it's what goes on in the sun. It requires very high densities and extremely high temperatures. 10 to the 8th is 100 million degrees Kelvin. And we know how to create fusion on Earth. It's the hydrogen bomb. And the big problem is that there's a big boom in your laboratory, and probably most of your country is gone. So the US has a controlled fusion program for 75 years. We've spent a considerable amount of money, as you can see. And we have two approaches. One is inertial fusion, which is focusing lasers or particle beams onto the fusible material. And the other is magnetic fusion, which is using a strong magnetic field to trap plasmas. And recently, the inertial fusion program resulted in a relatively physics breakthrough. They actually extracted more energy than they put into the fusible materials. But the problem with that is to make that a commercial venture, you've got to do that quite often, and they only get like one shot per 4 days or something. It's Livermore, California, and so let's see. I guess the picture there is when we were testing above ground. Yeah, mushroom cloud. Okay, next. So these two university professors, Dr. Pons and Dr. Fleischmann, claim to have produced hydrogen fusion at room temperatures. And this is the conceptual setup. They had a platinum and a palladium rod in a battery, basically, with an electrolyte that was deuterated water, deuterated hydrogen, and it appears naturally in water, about 1 part in 6,500 maybe. And I don't know how much deuterium they had in there, but they claim they put conceptually 1 unit into the battery and withdrew 2 units of energy, which was mind-boggling, gobsmacking, however, whatever word you want to use. Because if they're correct, and if they could commercialize this, we would not have to worry about fossil fuels or any other these things. We'd have essentially unlimited energy. So next one, Dave. And here they are. They hypothesized that the hydrogen has been ionized and diffused into the palladium, PD, and was hyper squeezed without providing any details. Then, before letting any peers review or perhaps repeat the experiment, they held a press conference and they refused to provide information so that the experiment could be dissected and repeated. But they didn't refuse the $5 million Utah gave them. Finally, the US government, DARPA, who actually paid for this experiment, and DARPA is let's see if I can remember, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and they fund high risk, high payoff research that has national security implications. And they finally called them to task. After these people had accepted $5 million from the governor of Utah. Okay, next. Okay, so let's see if I got it. Are we on track? Yeah. This is just repeating the scientific method before we go to the forensics of this experiment and the postmortem, I should call it. You form a hypothesis and an educated guess, or as we used to call it in military, a swag, which is a scientific wild ass guess. Now it's educated, but you're grabbing at it. And then you have to gather empirical evidence. You analyze that evidence using your skeptical filters and then subject it to peer review and repeatability. And if any of these 4 steps are not followed or followed incorrectly, the whole study is sullied. And now we'll go and see what the doctors did. Next one. Go to the next one. So they clearly debauched the scientific method. They did not provide a hypothesis that was anywhere near in harmony of the known physics and chemistry. They simply said the hydrogen went into the palladium. The palladium squeezed it, and refused to provide any details to allow anybody to replicate it. They did not allow peer review, and as you can see, the alien into it even showed up at this one. This is he's at the bottom there with his it's a three-eyed alien. I think there's three eyes there. Okay, and so again, I was led to a bit of poetry, if you pardon me, and it's P and F. That would be Pons and Fleischmann announced cold fusion, but alas, it was but an illusion. They broke all the rules and then acted like fools and gave science a painful contusion. And okay, so it should be obvious that exit or entrance. Okay. Okay. Do we need to take a break, or are we doing okay?
No, we're doing good.
Okay. All right, so I wanted to go back to the previous one. I wanted to
sure.
share. Yeah, sorry. So I want to share a night to remember. I used to be working at DOE in Gaithersburg, and one night I was giving a talk on laser fusion and the prospects of it, and how we could get energy from water. We would have an unlimited supply of energy, and let's see, okay, and Pons and Fleischmann were ostracized by the U.S. community, and they essentially fled the country. And you would think they would descend into a state of ignominy, but wait, not so fast. They made their way to France, and a family in France that you may know by the name Toyota took them under their wing. This is the car company, and and provided them with a laboratory in Nice, France. It was on the a very elaborate laboratory on the Riviera with unlimited supplies, and for the next 10 or 15 years they continued unsuccessfully their research. Let's see, I wanted to share this story. I'm sorry, I was not continuous here. So I'm briefing this crowd in case and about the unlimited potential of water, getting energy from water, and after about 20 minutes of my briefing, a fellow raised his hand in the back, and I should have known because he was what I call a belt and suspenders man. He was quite middle-aged to old, but those people I've learned are extremely conservative. The suspenders giving them a bit of insurance on their britches falling down, an extra bit of insurance. So in any case, he raised his hand. He said, "Sir, I've been listening to you, and I know how to get energy out of water." Well, of course, the 100 people there stopped everything, stopped breathing, and listened to what his remarkable solution would be. And he said, the way you get energy out of water is to just put a couple shots of Jim Beam in it. And at that point, I vividly remember I completely lost control of the briefing. And in fact, that's the only thing I remember about the briefing. Okay. It's always good to have a little humor. I hope the audience doesn't mind that. Okay. Okay, let's go to artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Yeah, because this is a game changer. And I believe, well, certainly in my case, I get 10 to 15 scams emails every day, telephone or emails. And I'm most likely you get about the same. And and uh and it, you got to remember that uh, uh, a little bit of history. The artificial intelligence, which I think AI may instead stand for let's see, AI. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble here. Just bear with me. I'll get back on track here in a second. Sorry.
Do I need to go back?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I hope the audience will put up with this. I'm having a little trouble. I have kind of bad eyesight, and I really have to take note of that. Okay, AI, I think could probably be called avalanche incoming, because it is going to change a lot in this country and world for many reasons. First of all, let me refer back to the Alan Turing test, 1950. He was a British intelligence, worked in the intelligence business, and he developed a test that would determine when robots emulated human cerebral capabilities. And that would be, you put the robot and a human behind the curtain, and you ask them questions, and if you can't tell the difference between the response on a range of questions, then they pass. Well, nobody has reached that point yet, but AI is coming on gangbusters, and you have to remember that any technology which is in the hands of everybody, because anybody with a cell phone or a computer can get into the business. And so I wrote this little limerick. AI is quite the rave, yet I worry, will it behave? To keep it our friend, let's be stern and not bend, and be sure it's our robo-slave. And one should remember also that the keys that fit heaven also fit hell. And those that are using AI down in hell are working 24/7. And case in point, I think you know Warren Buffett, probably the richest guy around, and every year he has a meeting of several thousand of his so-called friends that religiously follow whatever he does in the stock market. And this occurs in Omaha. He's the Oracle of Omaha, and he, at this last meeting, which was a couple weeks ago, he presented a video that he'd been sent, and it was of him briefing a group of people and asking them to send some money to the Warren Buffett Foundation in Prague, Czechoslovakia. And he said if he hadn't known that he didn't do it, he probably would have followed for it. He said they gave a total perfect facsimile of me, my body language, my voice, and I would have sworn it was me, except I knew it wasn't. That just shows you the power and how fast this is coming on. And let's see if I've got anything else that I want to share with you. Okay, so yeah, I think that pretty well covers it, Dave. Let's go on. Okay, now we're going to talk about the U.S. Forest Service. And as I'm sure everybody here knows that controlled burns are a way of preventing, in theory, they're a way of preventing later conflagrations. Well, New Mexico has had two infernos, both in 1920 and in 2022. The first one was Cerro Pelado, which is in Jemez Mountains, above Jemez Springs, and it burned, as you can see, quite a bit. And it was a boo-boo by the Forest Service, in which they had a burn pile and they didn't put a thermal sensor in there, and so it reignited and caused this conflagration. And at this point, being a government agency, you can guess what they did. The first step they did is they realized that controlled burn is oxymoronic. And so they changed the name to prescribed burns, thinking, of course, that might maybe solve the problem. So, and then the same year they had another, the biggest one in our history in New Mexico. It involved 3,000 firefighters, a couple $100 million, burned for 3 or 4 months. And FEMA is still on the hook for paying a lot of people up there. And near Las Vegas, it's just northwest of Las Vegas, New Mexico. And it's very counterintuitive to me that in this day and age that the Forest Service doesn't provide sensors and satellites and drones and everything to mitigate this problem. And the caveat, of course, is when the fire gets extremely large, it becomes what I call nonlinear. It creates its own atmosphere and expands in a chaotic, complex manner that is extremely hard to predict. So you've got to nip it in the bud. If you have a prescribed fire burn that is you think it's going to get out of sight, you've got to snuff it quite soon. So, okay, next. And here's our friend. We were kids. We all knew Smokey. Southern New Mexico Capitan. He was singed but saved from a fire in 1950 and became our national symbol. His mantra being only you can prevent wildfires. He passed on in 1976, but his memories and live on. And so I sketched this ode to Smokey and the U.S. Forest Service. Fight fire with fire's the way to reduce the threat, so they say. Yes, this plan is quite bold, though if flames not controlled, our result is Mayday, Mayday. Okay, that's enough for that. Let's go on. I hope everybody is still with us here. Dave, are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, next. I guess
Oh.
I forgot my, yeah.
I didn't, okay.
Yeah, well, no, you're doing really great. Do you have a tip jar?
No,
Okay, okay.
virtual tip jar.
Oh,
Same place as the virtual donuts.
Okay, okay, all right. We're gonna talk about paranormal now, and which is a subset of pseudoscience. And Chapman University in California publishes every year. And again, we're cutting off some, Dave. I can't see the left margin is gone. Can you make that just a little smaller? That's now you made it so small I can't read it, but that's all right. Okay, you know, it's a personal problem. In any case, it's gobsmacking to me that 3/4 of Americans believe in at least one of these 7 on the list, and you can read down through them. And while you're looking down through them, ghosts and spirits, and almost 60% believe aliens have either visited us or they're here now. Telekinesis, which is, I think, the fellow that bent spoons with his mind, that kind of stuff. And Bigfoot, and then futurologists, crystal balls, all that. But 3 out of 4 Americans believe in at least one thing on that list. And what do you think? It looks to me like the pseudoscience is waxing and science is waning. And I don't know what to do about that, but maybe we can talk about it at the end of this. So and I don't, as I scroll down through, I came to aliens currently here, 35%. And I stopped there and I said, you know, I spend an awful lot of time in Washington, D.C., and I think there may be a lot of them there.
Hmm.
A lot of them there. Any case, my summary rhymer is: we all seek myths, miracles, and magic, but beware, your search can turn tragic. There exist many illusions that cause puzzling confusions, with the results quite often traumatic. And there you saw our friend, the alien, leaving his spacecraft, and I will share one story. I just came up out of my intuition that I was once asked to get involved in somebody that claimed that he had seen a flying saucer over Albuquerque several years ago, and with some help, we did analysis and we had a friend and he had the usual fuzzy photographs. So we studied it and we looked at weather balloons and we looked at satellites and this observation was near sunset, so it could have been glints off satellites. And we presented him quite a scholarly article, a couple of pages. He probably had seen some of this. And he said, I don't even want to read your science because I saw it with my own eyes. And that was the end of my career as a chaser of these paranormal events. But I know there are a lot of people probably in this audience that have gotten involved in that. And okay, so let's go on. Now we can go. Next is my word. Okay. So you know, as we walk through the natural universe and made a few stops, we've now come to the universe itself, and these two telescopes, which you can see here, I'm sure you know quite a bit about them, since I have a very intelligent audience. And but what is most counterintuitive to me is the astrophysics theory that with the claim that we can only see 5% of the universe with all our telescopes. The rest of it is invisible. And so it's called dark energy and dark matter. And for a theory to be based on 5% that you could see, where the other 90% is inferential, you can only deduce that it must be there. For instance, the dark energy, we all know the universe is expanding, but now we've been told it's accelerating. And you know, if you have one big bang, there's nothing in physics that says that debris is going to accelerate after a while. It's going to either travel about constant velocity or it's going to more likely slow down because of intergravitational effects. So, but for it to accelerate, you have to believe this extra energy that was present. And our metrics is not found any way to measure directly, but only inferentially. And then that is the 68% of the remaining 95% dark energy. And that picture on the right is, and that's not much. It looks like it's supposed to be a Hubble picture, but okay, next.
Okay.
Okay. Dark matter is the next. The way the galaxies move, the way when we see light bend around something that we can't see, we conclude that other 25% is dark matter. And I just, this is probably the most counterintuitive thing that I present here. It's a teetering scenario, which you have 5%, everything's based on the 5% of light you can see, and the other we don't see it, but it's got to be there to explain what we see. So Stephen Wright, who most of you know is a brilliant one-line comedian, pretty much summarized this. He said, we know the speed of light, but what the heck is the speed of darkness? And I chimed in with this short limerick that our universe so radiantly bright, and we've studied things bathed in its light. Now we're told most are dark, and I say, hark, hark, this new theory's plumb out of sight. Little pun there, I hope you don't mind my corny poems. Okay, let's go on to the next one. All right, I had more than 50 problems in there. Each one was counterintuitive to me when I first encountered it, and I managed to resolve all of them through a combination of critical thinking, aka a little bit of math, logic, common sense, etc. And I'm just going to share these three with you. I believe, I mean, I've solved them all, and these problems have a solution section also. So if you get hung up on them, but they're designed to hone your critical thinking skills by making you think outside the box. So, okay, well, I'll just sort of read it. The family has 4 kids, are going to have 4 kids, equally likely to be boys or girls. So, and then which is more likely? 2 boys, 2 girls, 3 of a kind, all the same sex. Well, I asked about 20 people this, and most said 2 boys, 2 girls. Well, that's not true. 3 of a kind is more likely, and the solution lays that out. And the reason is because that you can have say again.
Oh,
Did I hear?
no,
Did I hear?
you heard my zipper of getting a pen out. Sorry,
Oh,
as you were.
okay. So there are 8 cases. There's 16 cases total. You can go through. It's 2 to the 4th. So for each child, you can have 2 possibilities. And the reason it's 3 of a kind for one given family is that you can have a boy, girl, and that boy that gets 4 cases, or you could have a girl, boy, and that's another 4 cases. So you have 8 cases of that. And all the same sex is only 2. That's of course 4 boys or 4 girls, and then 2 boys and 2 girls are 6. So I asked 20 people, and almost everyone said 2 boys, 2 girls. Well, that's not right. But wait a minute. I told you that it's equally likely to have boys and girls. So if the expected outcome of this, and that would require repeating this experiment many times, you would have to end up with 2 girls and 2 boys, because you have equal numbers. You have equal numbers. And so to me, that was very counterintuitive initially, but I resolved it. Okay, let's go to the next one. Throwing darts. So if all 3 darts, you had 3 darts, 1, 2, 3, and you throw them at a dartboard and they all land. And since these darts have an infinitely thin point, they all have different distances from the bullseye. What's the chance that the 3rd dart falls between the first 2? And that had stumped many people. You have to look at symmetry. And I think the easiest way to explain this is, there's the solution section here, is that just label the darts 1, 2, 3, and then throw them this trio in any order many times. Now you only have 6 possibilities. If you from distance from the center to the edge, you can have 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, and you have 6 possibilities. So each of the 3 occurs 1/3 of the time, and that means that the dart in the middle will occur 1/3 of the time. So again, another problem set that initially counterintuitive, but resolved after a bit of critical thinking and probably a couple glasses of wine too. So, okay, next. This is extremely counterintuitive. Let's say you have a U.S. football field that's 110 meters from goal post to goal post. And it's inelastic, meaning it, of course, will not extend under force. And it's stretched taut on the ground, as you can see in my little sketch there. So at the center of it is 55 meters from one end. And it's lying on the ground. It's the one down there on the bottom. And then I say, Dave, let's add 1 meter to that. And so we have 111 meters. And now we stretch it until it's taut as it was on the ground. Remember, it's inelastic, it will not stretch, so it's just under tension, same tension it was before. And so how high off the ground is that? And what kind of animal could go under that? And Intuit jumped into this and said the man could jump it, just walk under it barely. And the actual, all you do is apply the Pythagorean theorem, and you find that h, just adding 1 meter to 110 meters, that height above the ground now is 7.5 meters, which a giraffe can, even a tall giraffe can quite easily walk under. So adding 1 meter to 110, to me, and again, maybe to you, it's not counterintuitive at all. You'd figure it out immediately. But to me, when I first saw it, it was. And then I remembered my friend Pythagoras and resolved the problem. Okay, let's go to the next one.
It's a good one.
Okay, so we have a wobbly world. It's foggy and it's just, most things are arriving at the speed of light, and there are a lot of hooey, a lot of camouflage, and our intuition is a historical document, and so it's but novel, never seen before, oh my God, kind of things. It frequently now, and it fails, and it's going to, I think, exponentially increase in that failure rate. So you must have, it becomes counterintuitive, and now you must turn to critical thinking. And although it's woefully undeveloped, it is within the reach. It requires only diligence and motivation. You don't need a PhD. You don't need, and so when I wrote this book, I directed it not at the parents, because the parents, as if you remember, don't teach their kids, because the parents live by their passions and non-logic. So this I would hope would be directed. It has a pedagogical potential. I think the techniques I presented here would be attractive to in the scholastic world, and we will see, because the book has now been on the market for a couple of months, so we'll see how it does. And science-based is. Critical thinking is based on sound reasoning and probability and risk. I think you know all that. And if you don't, as Intuit does, he has no time for critical thinking. He guesses a lot, and he's going to be guessing a lot more of this. With artificial intelligence coming on, it's a game changer. And right now, I think we're in great probability of losing that game, because it's in the hands of everybody. Everybody can send out these fake things, and they will. And the people that are with the keys in hell are going to be working harder, or at least as hard as we are. And most humans don't like uncertainty, and counterintuition brings uncertainty with it. And it can cause stress, anxiety, and depression, the SAD syndrome. So next one, Dave.
Okay.
And the book was written with the intent of providing a novel way to sharpen your skills, the critical thinking skills, and that would appeal to the younger set, a pedagogical set, schools, young schools, grade schools, and junior high and high school. And when you combine that with intuition, an insightful intuition with a potent critical thinking, and take advantage of the synergy you have there, I think you can more effectively resolve the humps and bumps and rabbit holes that we all are encountering daily. And the payoff from that, if you do develop this well-honed, well-crafted critical thinking skill in concert with the intuition, with insightful intuition, this not only adds to your intuition library and helps to reduce the stress, because uncertainty brings on stress, and counterintuition is uncertainty, and gives you a dollop of delight. And so in closing, I would say, wouldn't that be nice to reduce, if that it could come true through just diligence and motivation, and our young people would pass this on, and because the incoming avalanche from the world today, chaotic and complex, is overwhelming, and you can't live by your intuition. So the result, in my mind, is you have a good chance to have a more sanguine and pristine life. Okay, let's go to the next one. Excuse me. Okay, well, it's my last slide, and I just want to thank everybody for putting up with me and listening to brief snippets of what's in this book. It's a 140-page book. It's not a very long book, and I have. You'll be delighted to know I have one last limerick. I'm delighted to offer my book. It gives critical thinking a look, because our many quandaries in life can yield stress and strife, but with sound reasoning, you'll not be a schnook. And if you know Yiddish, you know what I mean. So thank you. And Dave, I'll turn it back over to you.
All righty. Well, that was great.
That was, how long did we go? Hour?
Yeah, just over an hour.
Yeah, and we got a few beeps and things going on, so I guess I got within my time.
Excellent. So yeah, any questions or comments?
They didn't fall asleep, did they?
No.
Okay, okay.
So I remember cold fusion, and for a couple days I was really optimistic, maybe this will work out, but it didn't work out. So my question now is, with all the hundreds of labs that were testing it, where were all the dead grad students? There should have been several,
Yeah.
if they were actually getting neutrons.
Well, they did gamma rays and neutrons, and this was tried by a huge number of people around the world, and even Google. Who'd ever believe Google would come forward and pay millions of dollars to build a laboratory? But they were one of the people, and as usual in these things, there's several camps, and camp one was a scientific fraud, and where they just bad guys, bad seeds. Number two, did they just fall for the one of the let's see what that meant. Yeah, it's the did they fall in a rabbit hole, basically? And was this a confirmation bias? Did they so badly want this thing to be true that they knowingly or unknowingly warped and morphed their experiment to try to fit it into the shoe? So and I think they're still arguing that, but Fleischmann passed away in 2012, but I think Pons is still with us in Nice, France, and he's probably got the $5 million that he got from Utah and no strings attached. So he's having a lot of donuts, which I guess we can't have.
Yeah. So I really liked your examples, like the tout string. You really have to solve that before you realize, wow, it's a giraffe could walk under there now,
Yeah.
even though it's only a meter longer.
The problems are a lot of fun, and I had a lot of fun writing this, and I didn't write it for the money. I just wrote it because, you know, at age 85, you gotta do something other than sitting on your porch watching birds and drinking wine. So I
Well,
figured,
we need to figure out how to get this book into like schools and colleges and
yeah.
where kids might just want to read it on their own.
Uh, I think it's readable by the general public, but again, my focus was on the young people that I think are the real saviors. The parents are just they don't teach the kids now, and they're not going to learn. They go by their passions and their guts. But the kids, I think, will be like sponges if we can get this thing and maybe try a prototype experiment in a few high schools or something like that.
But we got to show them that debunking baloney science can be fun.
Uh-huh.
When you solve something, it's really quite a thrill.
It is. It is. Epiphanies. It's a scientific epiphany.
Yeah. So Richard Feynman, he has a great little lecture, basically on the scientific method. But one of his points is the easiest person to fool is yourself, and I think it helps explain Pons and Fleischmann. They basically fooled themselves to think they really had fusion.
Uh,
Um, it explains this French physicist Blondelot, who around 1900 discovered N rays, and they were these weird rays that you could put in you could refract them with a prism of a solid aluminum. They went through aluminum, but they were bent. And he was just going, and you know, at that time, we just learned about X-rays and gamma rays and alpha rays and beta rays. So strange rays were all the rage. And an American physicist, Edward Wood, I think, went out there to France to visit Blondelot in his lab and saw the N-ray experiment. And Blondelot showed him how the aluminum prism refracted the N-rays just as predicted. And basically, the way you detect N-rays was to visually assess the brightness of this spark gap. And that is just asking for a little subjective bias to creep in there. And so what Robert Wood did was he took the prism, the aluminum prism, put it in his pocket, didn't tell Blondelot, and said, "Hey, can we run that refraction thing again?" And Blondelot did, got the exact same results. And then Wood said, "Hey, you didn't even have your prism," and he published how that it turned out, and that was the end of Blondelot for sure.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, Joe.
Hi. I got your book, by the way.
Excellent.
Very good. Good job. Okay. And however, I did look at a few of the problems. I didn't read all the book. I didn't have time to. Okay. I just got it on yesterday. And but there was a one problem, number 6, the forever stop. And it was, I just had cataract surgery, so I don't have glasses, so I'm having trouble reading. But Indoor gripes incessantly about how long he waits at this light. I know this light is red for 40 seconds and green for 20 seconds. Intuit claims to arrive at a random time during the cycle and purports to wait about 30 seconds on average. Is Intuit's rage justified? Okay. And of course, the answer is it's not justified. However, I don't know if you want to talk to your printers about this, but they haven't answered. This is expected wait time is EW, his wait time, W wait, equals 2/3 of the time, which is 20 seconds, times divided by 1/3 of 0 seconds when he doesn't have to wait. And the answer says it's equal to 13 to the 13th power. Okay.
Yeah, it's a typo, yeah. I think it's 13 and a third seconds. I think it's 13.
It's 13.33
Yeah,
seconds.
Yeah,
It made me think something
yeah,
about how about missing variables.
yeah. Well,
And
unfortunately,
the thing about critical thinking is that if there's a variable that you don't know about, then you can come to the wrong conclusion.
right,
For example, with the traffic light, if you had synchronous lights, okay, that would totally change the equation where
right,
neither your intuition nor your critical thinking would solve the problem. So we do have to be very careful that we don't put unbelievable reliance on critical thinking
mhm,
and do not put unbelievable reliance on intuition, but maybe have a combination of both where
mhm.
you've got to feel comfortable with both before you can go ahead.
Right, okay, that's insightful, and I attempted to make that case that intuition is very important. It can solve a lot of problems without critical thinking that you've seen before, but you just have to remember that the world is getting so chaotic and complex now that, and it is intuition is historical. It's past things. All the things that have happened in your life, and when something brand new comes out, of which is, I think, exacerbating exponentially, you are going to have to depend more on critical thinking. But it's a team effort. Intuition stays involved because it has an archive. It can still help when you're doing the critical thinking. It's a team effort, and that's what I attempted to convey. And if I didn't, I apologize.
And no, I think you did a great job, actually. And I just wanted to point that out, but also bring up the situation of missing variables, okay?
Right, right.
Which
Well,
I think is a very important thing
right.
when you're doing critical thinking,
Yeah,
okay?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the copy you got it had many mistakes in it. Google and Barnes and Noble, which they own, sell half the books in the world, and
Yeah.
so they're a super organization, and once they take your money, you work for them. And the first edition, which unfortunately you got, had many mistakes in it, and I've been trying to correct this for a half a year, and I apologize. And if you have my email address on the last view slide, I will mail you a correct version of that, because
That's okay.
is that okay?
I was able to figure it out with critical thinking.
Yeah, okay, but I apologize for the mistakes. It's just very unfortunate to realize that Google, among other things, they don't have real proofreaders. They read into a software, and the software prints out what they think they said. And some of the earlier versions I got, it's quite jocular. I would have a sentence from them, and it was supposed to say, I went to the store to buy something. And what I got from it is, I went to the store, period, and then I bought something. And the reason is because the reader had paused long enough so the software thought that was the end of the sentence. It's kind of funny, but they
AI.
don't have any real proofreaders. It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, David, sorry about that. Yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it's just an example of AI gone wrong.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
critical thinking is a great adjunct to intuition, But just like, with news stories, these days, it's great to have the fact check. And that's kind of what critical thinking is you have all these interesting things. Let's do some fact checking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Well, I had fun writing the book, and I thank you for your diligent, just insightful
Glad
comments.
your
And
initiative, hope it gets out there.
you got any thought on how to push it into the pedagogical world? I mean, since you're a professor of critical thinking, as I understand, so.
We'll mention it at SkeptiCamp for sure.
Mhm.
And that's in a couple weeks. So yeah, that'll be our first return to in-person meeting in a long time.
I much prefer that. The Zoom is, the only good thing about Zoom is that you can't have food thrown at you.
There you go.
The rest of it is.
Okay. Well, thanks
Okay.
ever so, Keith. That was illuminating and
Yeah, and in your skeptical meeting, feel free to use any part of this if you wish, or I could perhaps talk to people if it's appropriate. So whatever might think about that.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, very good. Thanks, Keith, and hope to see everybody in June 1st and 2nd for first ever SkeptiCamp, New Mexico.
Mhm. What's
Okay.
the venue? What's the venue for
Oh,
that?
it's called the Workforce Training Center. I'm gonna have a map to it, but it's
Oh,
out
okay.
in
Okay.
the northern end of Albuquerque.
Mhm.
Up
Um,
in Alameda and 25.
yeah, out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of near the balloon park, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll make maps. It's nice. It'll fit 50 people, so we're hoping we get like 50 people.
Mhm.
Tell your friends.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have more publicity. We're gonna try to get on the radio and
Oh, good.
uh,
Okay, Dave, thanks for your
very
help.
good. Well, thanks for coming, everybody.